All right, we're about to tackle a question that is so huge, so fundamental, it literally shapes every single one of our lives, whether we realize it or not. So let's just put it out there. What is education really for? Seriously, what's the point? Is it about getting a good job? Is it to make you a good citizen? Or is it something more personal about finding out who you are? It seems like it should be a simple question, but trust me, the answer is anything but. In fact, this question isn't just a question, it's a battleground. It's this invisible arena where all these deeply held beliefs about society, about psychology, about politics, they all collide. And the outcome of that fight, well, that determines exactly what goes on inside classrooms everywhere. Now, there's a whole academic field dedicated to figuring this out. It's called education studies. And it's not just about, the best way to teach fractions. It's about understanding the entire ecosystem of learning, from the political agendas that fund schools to the psychology of what's happening inside a student's brain. So, to get to the bottom of our big question, we first have to understand the major conflicts that are always simmering just beneath the surface. So let's start with the first major battle. This one is fought by sociologists, and it's all about the purpose of school in the grand scheme of society itself. It's a real tug-of-war. Let's zoom way out for a second. Before we even think about individual students, we've got to ask, what does society as a whole want from its education system? And you'll find there are two powerful and completely opposite answers to that. First up, you've got the functionalist view. Now, these guys see society like a living body. You've got different institutions, the family, the economy, the government, and they're all like vital organs. In this picture, education's main job is to keep the whole body healthy and stable. It passes on shared values, creates a sense of us, and basically helps keep the whole thing running smoothly. And then, in the other corner, you have the Marxist view. They don't see a body working in harmony. They see a constant struggle between social classes. From this perspective, education isn't a unifying organ. It's much more like a factory designed to churn out a workforce that accepts the existing power structure. It sorts people, training some for lower-level jobs and others for the top. And it does it in a way that makes this inequality seem totally natural and fair. And when you put them side by side like this, the clash is crystal clear. Functionalism is all about creating consensus for social stability, and it sees the system as a fair race, a meritocracy. Marxism, it sees a system built on conflict, designed for class control, and its main job is to make massive inequality look like it's deserved. I mean, these are two totally different blueprints for what school is supposed to be doing. Okay, let's switch battlegrounds. We're going to zoom in now from that huge societal level right down into the mind of a single student. Because even if we could all agree on what society wants from schools, we would still be fighting about this next question. How do people actually learn anything? Right, so now we're in the classroom. This is the psychological tug of war, and your answer to this question completely changes what a student does all day and what a teacher's job even is. So, who is the learner? One camp is behaviorism. Think of famous psychologists like Pavlov and Skinner. This school of thought basically sees the learner's mind as a blank slate. Knowledge isn't built from within, it's imprinted from the outside. Learning is all about conditioning. You get a reward for the right answer, a punishment for the wrong one, and slowly your behavior is shaped. The teacher's role here is to be the master conditioner. But in direct opposition, you have constructivism. This view says the learner isn't a passive slate at all. They're an active architect, building their own knowledge. It argues that we all construct our own understanding of the world by connecting new information to stuff we already know. Learning isn't about being filled up with facts. It's about actively trying to make sense of things. And I mean, the difference is just night and day, right? Is the student passive or active? Is learning just a reaction to a bell, or is it about building personal meaning? And is the teacher's job to reinforce behavior with gold stars, or is it to be a guide who helps you discover things for yourself? How your school answered this question pretty much defined your entire education. Okay, so we've got these huge abstract battles between sociologists and psychologists. But so what? How do these big ideas actually get into the rules and regulations and the day-to-day reality of a school? Well, this is where politics comes in. If you look at this timeline of UK education policy, you can actually see these ideologies playing out in real time. Right after World War II, you had the tripartite system, which literally sorted kids into different schools at age 11. That's a very functionalist, sorting idea. Then, in the 60s, a push for comprehensive schools, one school for all. But the real earthquake hit in 1988 when a whole new ideology took over. This act was a complete game changer. It was driven by this ideology called the New Right, and it was this powerful cocktail of ideas that wanted to blow up the old way of doing things. But what's so fascinating is that this ideology was itself a battleground between two competing and kind of contradictory ideas. So the New Right was really a mix of two different forces. On one hand, you had the neoliberals, who were all about the free market. They're the ones who gave us school league tables and open enrollment, turning parents into consumers who could shop around for the best school. But on the other hand, you had the neoconservatives. They cared about tradition, authority, and a shared national culture. And they're the ones who gave us a highly centralized national curriculum, telling every school exactly what they had to teach. So get this, at the exact same time, schools were being told to compete freely like businesses and follow a strict top-down plan. So, after all these clashes of ideas, sociological, psychological, political, where does that leave us today? Has anyone actually won the battle for the classroom? Well, this brings us right to the heart of it. The big takeaway is that there is no single winner. There never has been. Education is, and probably always will be, this deeply contested space. The classroom you sat in, the subjects you studied, the way you were tested, all of it was the result of a kind of fragile truce between these powerful, competing forces. So when you think back on your own education, you can see it was forged in the heat of these battles. Was your school trying to create social unity, or was it sorting you into a hierarchy? Were you treated like a blank slate that just needed to be filled with facts, or were you an active builder of your own understanding? Was school a public service, or was it a product in a marketplace? This quote from way back in 1978 just nails the central tension perfectly. It says, the ultimate purpose of education is the same for every kid. But, and this is the crucial part, the help each individual kid needs to get there is going to be different. And that's it, right? How do you balance that universal goal with everyone's unique individual needs? That's the challenge that keeps all these debates raging. And that really brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. Your education wasn't an accident. It didn't just happen. It was the product of a long series of ideological battles, victories, and compromises. So the question for you to think about is this. Now that you can see the battle lines, which ideas actually won the fight for your classroom?